Hi, it's Jo here from Jo's Country Junction. Welcome to my dining room. We're at my table today and I am here to share some cross stitch goodies with you. I've been a busy stitcher lately. I have some fully finishes, I have some finishes, and I have some works in progress that I'm working on. I'm kind of in this funny limbo stage that I just finished a project. Oh, you can see glare on my glasses. I hate when that happens. Okay, maybe I can adjust my glasses a little bit. See, I don't want to do this because that window glares. So I want to sit here. It's really hard to film these videos and you don't realize it until you're the person doing it. I had a light on and I thought, well, maybe the light will be better. And I swear, I talk about lighting, see, and then that really glares my glasses. So I don't know if I should just tilt my glasses. That looks kind of weird, but okay, maybe we'll just try that and we'll probably see. We might have to adjust later. But anyway, I've been doing lots of stitching. I have fun things to share with you and I hope you'll come along and join me in today's Flosstube video. First up, I have two finishes that I'm super excited about. Here is finish number one. See, there's that light. If I move it over here, well, we'll just let it glare for a second. This is, well, maybe I'll just turn the light off. There. This is the Apostles' Creed, and this is from Heartstring Samplery. And I bought this pattern when I first started cross stitching again. It was going to be like my ambitious project, and once I could do that project, I was, just excited because I started out in the 80s as a Ada stitcher, like all of you did, well, many of you did. I just seem to hear that story all the time. I hear stories about how all of us went to Ben Franklin or little stores like that, and we bought a little dimensions kit and we stitched little ornaments and, the ornaments that fit in the plastic shaped hearts. Yeah, so many of us fell into that and started cross stitching then, and then now have come back and been wowed by cross stitch. Well, probably about 2016 or so, I saw my first thing that I thought I wanted to stitch, and it was on linen, and man, I just wasn't up for it. I didn't know if I could do it, and later on, I tried a different project and was super excited because I wanted to stitch the project so bad that I forced myself to learn to stitch on linen. And now I kind of laugh because I can't imagine not stitching on linen. So right about that time, once I figured out how to stitch on linen, I bought this thinking, wow, if I could only stitch that, that would just be amazing. And, it is a bigger piece, but it's not particularly a hard piece. So as I said, it's Heartstring Samplery, and it is the Apostles' Creed. Some people I've heard aren't as excited about this project because when you come along, Virgin Mary suffered, then the UN is over here and the DER for under is over here. And some people don't like that, and that happens, and I understand that, but I decided I didn't mind because when I initially bought the pattern, I didn't notice that. And then when I got it, I thought, oh no, I don't know if I like that. But now that I've stitched it, I don't mind it a bit. This is the beginning top row. I ended down here with this row of tulips. There was a couple more bands in that area, but I decided not to stitch them because red is my favorite color. Red's like the focal color in a lot of pieces that I stitch. And so I wanted to end with the red. And there was red in here. I just thought by ending with that tulip section, it would be a little more cohesive, I think is the word I'm looking for, because the next bands had a lot of gold in them. I did trade out the color for the letters to trail dust. I just felt like it would show up a little better. And I stitched all of them in the trail dust color. What I did is I started this on December 14th, which is my birthday. And this was my birthday start. And when I was stitching it, I I had a lot of projects going at the time, and I'm like, you do not have time to stitch another project. But I wanted to have a birthday start. So what I decided is that I would stitch 1 row of words a week. Well, with that, it basically started happening that I'd pick it up one evening, I would sit down to stitch, I would get 1 row finished, I'd still have thread in my needle, so I'd start the next row. And then sometimes I sat down to stitch, I got 1 row finished, I still had an hour and a half I could stitch before I was going to bed. And so I just thought, well, let's just keep stitching on this project. So most weeks I stitched more than 1 row a week, but there's a few weeks that I only stitch 1 row a week. Like if I was busy on another project, just 1 row got stitched. And that was totally okay. I was pretty content with that. Let me think what else I have to say about it. This is a thrift store frame. I was at a thrift store that I generally don't go to. And when I went to that thrift store, they had this frame there. And the reason that I don't go to the thrift store, I'm a real cheapskate, I'm just gonna tell you that to start with, is because things are a little more expensive there. So this frame was $15, and normally the thrift stores I go to and buy frames at are only like $5. Yes, I'm a real cheapskate. And so $5 or less. So this frame was $15, and I was just like, God, do I really want it? And I'm so glad I did. I don't know if you can see the details of the frame, but peekaboo, it's really cute. It's really nice, very appropriate to go with the piece. I ended up finding a new to me framing store. It's local to me, and I was super excited about that. I've tried to send things out and I'm very disappointed. I'm not patient enough to wait 6 or more months for my piece to come back. I love the work that I had done there, but I just don't want to wait that long. I don't want to wait that long. So I took this to the new place that I was told about, and I asked about just getting some glass cut, and it was my intention, because I had already cut down the frame myself, and I was asked about getting some glass cut, and yep, they would cut the glass for me. And they had some anti-glare glass. I think it has like a 70 UV in it. She calls it AR glass. I don't really know what that means, but hey, it's AR glass. And so she thought that it would protect it, and when you look at it, when you're in person, you can't even tell that glass is on it. So I really love it for that. And she said that they would lace it and they would put it all together for me. And I think my cost ended up being about $80 for the glass and for them to lace it and put it all together for me. And I was okay with that. I guess that's a more comfortable price I feel good about. So yeah, I don't have a huge budget, so this was nice to be able to get this done for that. And it was nice that I did not have to lace it. I don't mind, and I can do all of that, but it's not something I feel super confident about. So that was my Heartstring Samplery Apostles' Creed. And that has me really excited about starting other pieces that have a lot of words in them, because I feel like I can make a commitment to stitch a row of words a week. That's not a problem to do at all. And so I might set up a couple other projects using that same stitching idea, is just to stitch 1 row a week. I've got, I really would like to stitch Leela Studios, the Lord's Prayer. That's on my list to try to stitch. I saw, I think the Queen of May from Hands Across the Sea that has the 23rd Psalm, I believe, is in that one. Or maybe that one's the Lord's Prayer too. I don't know, but that one really caught my eye too. So I have no idea what I'm going to be stitching next. I just now I'm kind of in that flounder spot, and I'll tell you what I mean by that when I show you a couple of my next coming pieces. This I finished stitching. Oh, I forgot to bring the pattern over. I finished stitching this some time ago, and now this week I just fully finished it. This is my first drum ever. This is the Pennsylvania Dutch with a needle and thread. I'm really happy to have this one stitched. I'm really happy that I did a drum. I think I might wait until my daughter Kelly is here one day, and I think I might try to do some cording around here. I don't know if I can do some really thin cording. My stitching's not bad. I don't hate it. But if I want it to look perfect, then I would think I would like to try to add maybe some cording right there. I did stitch the little strawberry. I didn't do the finishing like the pattern shows. She made it so it sits on a pedestal, and this top looks like a tomato, and I didn't do that. I just added the strawberry, and then I added a little bit of gourd pin with buttons. I'm pretty impressed with myself. This, you pretty much have to hand stitch it. The seam for the piece is right here. I'm sure you can see it, but it's not too bad. When I look quick like this, when I was turning it for you and talking and looking, I couldn't see where the seam was, and I had to stop and actually look. So I guess I'm pretty happy with myself as far as that goes. All in all, I really liked it. I did buy the tomato velvet that it was called for, but I didn't think it matched very well, and I dug in my stash and I had this velveteen instead, and so I just used that because I thought it matched better. I didn't put the velvet on the bottom. I didn't want to waste it, so I had a piece of just fabric from my stash, and I used that for the bottom. I am not afraid to do a drum anymore because I can see that I can do it. I had stitched this a couple of weeks ago, and I just didn't finish it because I had to like build up the courage to give it a try. I did watch Vonna Pfeiffer's, the Twisted Sisters video on how to finish a drum, and I highly recommend watching that because that really was helpful. I did use, like she used, some polyfill and some crushed walnuts. All in all, I'm very happy with it. But man, it took me probably 2.5 or 3 hours just to finish this. Well, I was new and I didn't know, and I was kind of uncertain. I think we all can relate to that a little bit. And I was just like, oh, and then I couldn't decide what to do with the top, and yeah. But I'm very happy. I did stitch the little strawberry. I'm very happy with how it turned out. Yeah. So I will do a drum again, but I'll make sure I plan enough time for finishing because this puppy got lots of hours in it. So that was that one that I fully finished. And I have 2 projects that I finished stitching, but they're not fully finished yet. The first one, I was doing a stitch along with my blog readers. My blog is Joe's Country Junction, if you don't already follow it. And so this was, we periodically do stitch-alongs. We usually have one going most of the time. We've got another one starting up soon. We'll be doing the Snip Snip and the Itch to Stitch from October House. So this is an older Littlehouse Needleworks pattern. I, in the end, wasn't happy that I picked this one as a stitch-along. When I looked at it, it's absolutely beautiful. I love it. But then after we looked into it, like, look at this. You see that there's one basket handle, but there's not a basket handle over here. Well, the chart calls for 2 basket handles, and I stitched 2 basket handles. The chart calls for Wilderness for this green. Well, Wilderness has since changed. This pattern did come out in 2015. And so Wilderness is a floss that's changed color. And then the red, which was Cherry Cobbler, that didn't have any variegation to it, and the pattern shows variegation to it. I just, all in all, I wasn't happy that I picked this because we buy it as a kit, and when we buy it as a kit, it's kitted up as the pattern calls. So a few people were a little bit frustrated, which I understand because the colors didn't really match the front. And I ended up changing my colors. So I changed, here's mine finished. I have to fully finish this yet. I was looking for a little frame. I kind of like some of my smalls to be frames instead of pillows. And this one, I think I wanted it to be a little frame. And I didn't have something right now that'll fit. I can cut something down, but I just didn't get that far yet. And the color changes I made are the green I changed to moss, and the red I changed to Manor Red. And in the end, it was really fun, easy to stitch. I don't think I even have mistakes on here. You know, typically I have a mistake or two on something. And this I don't think I had a mistake on, which is, you know, a major miracle. There's a lot of people that want to be like a model stitcher. That is the last thing I want to do in this world, because I could never stitch a piece that doesn't have some kind of fudging in it. And I don't know, maybe model stitchers can fudge, but I guess I would feel pretty uncomfortable fudging if I was the model stitcher. So anyway, that was Home Sweet Home from Littlehouse Needleworks, and that was my finish on it. If you want to join us for the next stitch along, which I said was October House, and that is, you can choose to stitch the itch to stitch, or you can choose to stitch snip snip. I think I'm going to do both of them. So I'm kind of excited about that. My next piece, I'm super, I broke the camera. I'm super excited. Well, maybe that'll be a good angle. Maybe it's not glaring as much. We'll see. What I finished stitching, I'm just super, super excited about. Here it is. It is Come to the Garden by Teresa Kogut. I started stitching this last year in June. They were doing a stitch along on Instagram. And when I was stitching along, I had several other projects going on at the time. And I was stitching and stitching. And I just decided that I would just put in a few stitches. I'd stitch on it a couple nights, and then I'd set it aside until I had more time. And then it didn't look too hard. They had it split up into different sections. You could stitch a section at a time. And I thought, oh, these sections aren't very big. I can easily catch up. Well, that just did not happen. And part of the reason is because down here in this area, the border, this is not a border that you can just memorize and stitch, because nope, it has some differences in stitches. Like I believe up here was like 19 stitches on the diagonal, but down here was like 20 stitches on the diagonal. So you really have to watch the border to make the border work. And I had all of the border stitched, got down here to the center. And when I was here at the center at the bottom is when I realized it wasn't going to match up, because I'm a person who stitches the border first usually, or I might stitch a couple motifs, but I really like the border to get stitched so that I know everything's going to come together, and then I can stitch wherever I want in the piece, because I have the border as the guidepost to stitch the inner part. And so I got down to here. I ended up having to rip out all the way here, and up over to here. And then I was so mad, because after I ripped all of that out, I realized what I needed to do was I just needed to rip down. I only would have had to rip from here to here, but I ended up ripping all of this out. And at the time, it was just the baseline. It wasn't the filled in flowers. So then I was way behind, because I was frustrated, set the piece aside, and there was no way I was catching up with the stitch along. They were supposed to be done in December, and I basically really got going in about November, probably. And then I was mad at the piece, and it just seemed like everything I would do, something would just go wrong. Like the count on a flower was wrong, or I used the wrong color somewhere, or they're just thing after thing. I was frustrated. And you might notice that mine has different wording. Mine says, I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses. That is a old church hymn. And it was sung at my mom's funeral. It was sung at my dad's funeral. And it was sung at my niece Jody's funeral. And so I decided to make this a memorial piece for them. And so I have my mom's initials here. Her name was Evelani Johnson. My dad was Carl Johnson, and my niece Jody is over here. Her name was Jody Sloan. And this song was sang at all of their funerals. It was a favorite of my mom and dad's. Hands down, it was the song that they wanted sung at their funerals. And so I was very happy. My daughter Kayla helped me change and rechart the words. She's the one that did it for me. I have those words available if you'd ever want to stitch this and you want to change your words as well. And that's on my blog, joescountryjunction.com. I think if you just search "Do on the Roses," you'll find it there. I'll try to remember to put a link in the notes for this. I have already picked up a thrift store frame for this. I found this frame. It's really rickety. It was $1. And so, yeah, my thrift store dollar find. And I think it's going to look pretty good in here. I'll just kind of hold it in here a little bit. It's got to be cut down yet, but you can, there. You can see that it should probably look pretty good in there. I don't know if you can tell, but this outer part is gold and there's an inner part here and that's red. It really makes the red pop when you see it in person. So hopefully, I think tomorrow, my hope is to drop that off at the framing place. The framing place is so awesome too. Their turnaround is about 2 weeks. And she said, if you really need something faster, you just have to let me know and I could possibly get it to you faster. It's like, for real? That's just totally amazing. And the prices are very, I thought, reasonable. So next up, I started floundering because that always happens to me when I finish a couple of pieces. Then I'm just kind of like, okay, what do I want to stitch on? Nothing feels quite like I'm in the rhythm yet. So I was just kind of started stitching on this, started stitching on that. I did make a list of the things that I have that I want to work on and stitch on. And so first up is what I think I'm going to keep stitching on and just finish this. This is the Scarlett House. This is the Black Dog sampler. Oh, that really is glaring. I wish I could get my lighting figured out. That's just something I'm not very good at. So here's Black Dog sampler. I really like this piece. I chose this as a stitch along. The only thing that I ended up not liking very much is that it's really a pain in the butt when your name is Joe and all of these old vintage patterns don't have a J in them. I just hate that. I wish they would have picked like a different letter, like, you know, X and not stitched X's instead. But J's missing out in many of these patterns. And there's several that I don't stitch simply because there's not a J in them. And this one, I forgot to look. I was so excited about the Black Dog because I adopted my I volunteer with Animal Rescue and I foster dogs. And so I started doing that last October. And the first dog I got was a black poodle kind of dog. And she's a poodle Australian Shepherd mix. And I ended up keeping her. And it's like, how can you do that? You just started. And so anyway, I was not at all attracted to black curly haired dogs. Not even a little bit. My other dog's a beagle, so they're completely opposites. They're kind of like Felix and Oscar from The Odd Couple. And anyway, I ended up getting her and adopting her. So then when I saw this with the black dog on it, I thought, well, you just got to stitch that for Izzy. So here is how far I am. We started this as the New Year, New Start. And we've been doing that as a stitch along on my blog. Not as many people picked up this piece to do that as pick up the regular small pieces. Some people aren't ready for a sampler, and that's totally okay. I was ready for a sampler, and so this is the piece I picked. It's coming along pretty well. We were, the whole supply chain thing. We had trouble getting the Gloriana silks, so what they ended up doing instead is substituting out NPIs, and so we've been stitching that with NPIs, and the conversion is pretty good. I ended up, if you look at this flower right here. The yellow is really acidy, and that's what it called for. It's an old acid yellow. I don't love that color in general, and I wanted a little more variety. So I picked up another NPI silk and added a different yellow. And so sometimes I use one yellow and sometimes I use the other yellow. So that's how far I am. I'm kind of leaning towards just sticking with this until I'm finished. I stitched on this a couple nights and I brought the side border down. I added all the motifs in this area right here. And so I think I'm just gonna stick with this and try to get this one knocked out and finished too. It shouldn't take too long. And then I can grab another piece off my list. I'm not real picky about having some UFOs, but I just don't want to have so many. Partly because I don't want to have all that money and thread and everything else out. Partly because I get, well, I'm a quilter. I'm a quilter first, I guess. Well, I don't know. Both hobbies are kind of becoming equal nowadays, but I'm a quilter and I have a ton of quilting whips. A lot of times I have things that people send to me and I finish them. And so other people's UFOs become my UFOs. And I don't mind having those UFOs either, but I just don't want to have so many unfinished projects. So we're meaning me, am working on trying to dwindle a few of those down. And honestly, I only probably have 6. And some of those are things that I'm actively working on. So when I say I have like 6 projects out, this is one of them. Other projects I have out, oops. This one doesn't worry or bother me either. This is something I'm doing. I'm doing the 25th day stitch. So on the 25th of every month, you stitch something Christmassy. So I've been stitching this old Lizzie Kate boxer pattern that I had. And this is Come Let Us Adore Him. And I'm almost done with this. I've stitched on this, I think this month will be the 3rd month I'm stitching on it. And so I just need to, there's a little kind of a lacy border along the bottom that I need to stitch yet. And so I should be able to do that on the 25th. I'm very excited about that. It's coming along so nice. I love the colors of it. In different places, the wording changes colors, and in a couple spots, I put the wrong color, and nobody's ever going to notice except that I just told you right now. And after I get that one stitched, I have it lined up to stitch this one. This is the Joy to the World one. It'll be really nice once Christmas rolls around because I should be able to have both of those finished by then. And I'm super excited about that because I love both of those. And they're nice little smalls that I can have out and keep out for Christmas. When I do the 25th day thing, sometimes I do a winter thing, sometimes I do a Christmas thing. It doesn't matter to me either way. I don't have very many winter things, so I should probably do more winter things. I probably have more Christmas things than winter things. The next thing that I have that's in my pile of possibilities to get serious and work on. This is Blackbird Designs Birds of a Feather. This came out at market, but I had gotten my copy previously. This is the old original copy. I had gotten mine from a blog reader. She was so kind and sent it to me. And I've only worked on it like a couple nights. Which you're saying, oh, that's not much in a couple nights. It's really not. They were both short nights. And so I just got started and going. This is stitched on Picture This Plus Vellum. Oh, and I was really bad and didn't tell you what other things were stitched on. So my Come to the Garden piece, that was stitched on Picture This Plus Vellum 40 count. My Black Dog was stitched on Dirty Teacup from Needle and Flax, also 40 count. My Apostles' Creed was stitched on Thornfield by Needle and Flax. I've kind of been on a Needle and Flax kick, but I think that's coming to an end because I'm having trouble finding any more of their fabric. This was stitched on the called for, I believe, 36 count Vintage Country Mocha. My favorite to stitch on is really 40 count, and I really, I'm kind of like this odd duck. Some people don't like to stitch on things that are tightly woven. I love to stitch on things that are tightly woven. So I love Picture This Plus because the weave is tight and you can't see the holes. That's my very favorite, is because I have more trouble if the holes are too easily seen to put my needle in the wrong hole than I have if things are more tightly woven and I have to find the hole. So I'd much rather find the hole than have my hole slip into the wrong needle hole. I think that makes sense. So anyway, I was stitching along on this. I was gonna finish up this little motif right here. And then when I was looking at the chart to get the next color, I'm just gonna show you here a second. The next color is this little see-through triangle. And so I looked on the legend to see where what color to do the see-through triangle, and the see-through triangle isn't listed. So drat. That means I need to go see if there's some kind of pattern correction somewhere and find out what color that see-through triangle is. If you know, you can put it in the comment section, because that would be very nice to know, and now I won't have to hunt everywhere to find out what that is. So this is like a contender that I wouldn't mind stitching on. I love the Black Dog sampler. I love this one. And the other piece I put just a tiny bit of time into. This is kind of the project I grab quick if I'm gonna, if I don't know if I'm gonna have to wait. So a lot of times I might ride to town with my daughter. She has a little 8-month-old son, and sometimes she's just gonna run in and get something quick. So I might just sit in the car for 5-10 minutes with my grandson so we don't have to haul him into the store. And so this is the project I take. Then the other day, a granddaughter of mine had preschool graduation. I was meeting her parents at the gas station, and then we're gonna drive the rest of the way together. And so I got there early, and I had like 10 minutes, and so I had this width and I stitched on this. I take this when I go to doctor's appointments, and it's not probably a typical project you might take. The project is Pet All the Dogs by Teresa Kogut. This came out in 2020. In 2020, she came out with 4 samplers for a spring market, and I bought all 4 of them. And I had never stitched anything big like that, and I just loved all of them. I was just very infatuated with all of them. I couldn't wait to start all of them, but obviously at that time I was a new stitcher, and again was very nervous about starting anything big. And so I ended up stitching, I'm going to turn the camera, you can see up over here, that's Newcastle Bouquet, and then there, whoops, I gotta tilt the camera, is Heaven and Nature Sing. And now I'm tackling Pet All the Dogs. And so I still want to stitch all of them. They're still like on my top patterns that I want to stitch. And so I decided to start working on Pet All the Dogs. And part of the reason is because I thought I would just kind of get to that house and I would save that house as my car stitching or fill-in stitching. Well, it turns out the bottom down here has turned into very good sit and wait stitching, because I can stitch those triangles without much thinking. I think I have about 5 more triangles, so it might be about as wide as the fabric is right now when it's folded. I'm stitching this on 40 count Seraphim Boston. I don't think I've stitched on Seraphim before. If I have, I don't remember, but I very much love stitching on this fabric. I think the color will be good for the project. This is a little bit gray. I don't know if you can see it. My fabric is a little bit kind of a gray beige. I don't know, grayish. So far I'm really loving stitching this. It's going really well. I'll keep working on this. I don't know, I've been thinking about maybe going around and getting like this border stitched and get that done, and then kind of like save the lettering or the house for my car stitching. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't think that this one will take forever. It is big, but not huge. It's 15 3/8 by 8 3/8 on 40 count. And so doable now that I've got some confidence, being that I have those other big ones stitched. So I'm very excited, but as I said, I'm kind of floundering a little bit. I don't know what to work on. Oftentimes I have a focus piece and a small, and then I have something that I stitch on just a little bit, maybe one day a week, kind of like when I was doing the Apostles' Creed. I usually stitched on that like one day a week. I didn't pick a particular day like a lot of people have, like a Sunday stitch. I don't do that because it's kind of a crapshoot what my day is going to be like. So one day I might have 2 hours to stitch. One day I might have 45 minutes to stitch. So if I want to stitch a row of letters, I want to make sure that I can finish that amount in that amount of time. And a lot of times if I only have like 45 minutes to stitch, then that's the day I would stitch on a small. So that's kind of where I am right now. Kind of floundering in between pieces, and that's a good problem to have because that means that I finished some other things. I do have another piece to finish because I think I previously showed you that I finished Seasons of the Heart Spring, but I didn't get it fully finished, so I have that to do. I have another piece for my daughter to fully finish. Yeah, so I just have a few things to do, and boy, I'm pretty excited about finishing my first drum. And like I said, it's not perfect, but hey, I'm not embarrassed by it either. So that's always a good sign, isn't it? If you're not embarrassed. So anyway, I'm going to clean up my mess here and get on to some other things with my day. Oh, one more thing I wanted to tell you before I go. I know that I've been trying to split up my videos so that they're either about Flosstube or they're about quilting, but I'm going to give you just a little sneak peek of something. This is a little baby quilt I just finished up. And if you're a quilter, or if you're a quilter wannabe, I did this is actually right now in the current issue of Quiltmaker magazine, only it's bright and rainbow colored. I am the original designer of that pattern. I am the original maker of that quilt. We sold our design to Quiltmaker. When Quiltmaker got the pattern, or they got the quilt from us, we just mailed the quilt to them. They take pictures and they mail it back to us, but we have to send a copy of some rough directions. Well, when they got my rough directions, they decided to write the pattern completely differently. And so they decided to write the pattern so that this would be paper pieced. And I did not paper piece this. So I made a series of 3 videos on my YouTube channel. And those 3 videos are, 2 of them are currently up, and they show you how to make the quilt without using paper piecing. It's very kind of freeform piecing, and I think you'd really enjoy making it. Another fun thing about the quilt is that while you make like these star points, you're actually making the border triangles and you're making the sashing fabric. So I highly recommend, even if you're a beginner quilter or an experienced quilter, to give this pattern a try. Honestly, I think I could probably make this over a weekend and not have any trouble getting it done. I know that I'm an experienced quilter, so somebody who's a newer person might take a little bit longer, but it's really a very doable piece. You can make the project bigger or small. Well, probably not. You probably don't want it smaller, but because this is a nice baby quilt size, I think it's 48 by 48. So I did this one in blues and greens, and I did it from like hunter greens to lime greens, and I did it from blues to teals to light blues to navies, and that's the color scheme that I used on this pattern. So if you're so inclined, you can go check that out as well. I do have quite a few quilting videos, as well as starting some Flosstube videos too. So I have no idea what number I'm up to. I don't really even keep track that way. So I know other people are really good about, knowing what number of video they are. Me, I just have no idea, and I have no shame in not knowing. So anyway, I hope that you will, oh yeah, my daughter has new cross-stitch shirts out too. So I'll put the link for them down below. I think that's everything. Yep, I think that's everything. And if not, I'll save it for the next video. Thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate you spending your time with me. It's always great to have company, and company when I don't have to clean the house, because honestly, if you saw the other end of my table, it's a little bit of a mess. And sorry about the scanner in the background. So I'll catch you later. Enjoy your day. Bye.